Thank you very much, Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mathis, welcome.
Thank you.
And I've got to say, I think you have a legitimate beef with the White House because the Biden White House has placed you in a very difficult situation. The Biden White House's conduct in putting forth your nomination and in disregarding the views of the senators from your home state has placed you in an almost impossible situation. That's not your fault, but it is President Biden's. You're familiar with Article 2 of the Constitution.
Yes, Senator.
What does Article 2 of the Constitution lay out?
Article 2 lays out the executive powers of the presidency.
And among them is the power to appoint judges. Now, Article 2 does not give the president unfettered authority to appoint any judge he or she chooses and have that be the end of the process, does it?
No, the Article 2 does say that it must be advice and consent from the Senate.
And let me ask you, Mr. Mathis, why is it that the framers of the Constitution required, before any judge becomes a judge, the advice and consent of the Senate?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. Checks and balances is something that the framers worked into the Constitution, so the executive gets to nominate, but a different branch of the government must sort of do the confirmation.
Now, as some of my Democratic colleagues have pointed out in the previous Senate, we halted the process of the blue slip for Court of Appeals judges. Court of Appeals judges cover multiple states. But that did not mean that in the previous Senate, we stopped consultation with home state senators. It meant home state senators didn't have an absolute veto over a Court of Appeals nominee, as home state senators continue to do with district judges. But the Biden White House's behavior in your nomination is fundamentally different. Let me ask you, when did you hear from the White House that they intended to nominate you?
I heard from the White House that they intended to nominate me. I believe it was 3 or 4 days before the nomination. And I was nominated on November the 17th. So I believe it was the Friday before or that Monday.
When did you first begin discussions with the White House about the possibility of being a federal judge?
First began those discussions, I believe it was late May or early June, if I'm not mistaken.
So late May, early June, we're looking at 6-7 months that have passed. Throughout all that time, the White House did not have a conversation with the 2 senators from Tennessee. The White House did not seek their consultation. The White House did not give them an opportunity to meet with you. The White House did not give them an opportunity to assess your qualifications. Instead, the White House just barreled right ahead, ignoring, and that's not a word I use lightly, ignoring the senators elected by the voters of Tennessee. Let me ask you something. Are you familiar with Judge Camille McMullen?
Thank you, Senator. Yes, I am familiar with Judge Camille McMullen.
Have you had the chance to argue before Judge McMullen?
Senator, I have not argued before Judge McMullen.
So my understanding of Judge McMullen is that she served 14 years in the Tennessee Court of Appeals. She is an African-American woman. She was appointed to the Court of Appeals by a Democratic governor. Is all of that right?
All that is accurate. I believe she was appointed it was either 2007 or 2008.
In your judgment, is Judge McMullen qualified to be a federal Court of Appeals judge?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. Judge McMullen is a great judge. I never practiced with her, but I'm sure she was a great lawyer. That's what I can say about her. I think she's a great person, great judge, and I'm sure she was a great lawyer.
Is there anything about Judge McMullen's record that you know about that would lead someone to think that she was some secret, stealth, right-wing choice?
Senator, I'm not familiar with her record beyond her being a judge and a lawyer. don't know anything about her record. Again, I believe she's a great judge, and I'm sure she was a great lawyer.
So my understanding is the senators from Tennessee suggested Judge McMullen, an African-American woman who had 14 years service in the State Court of Appeals, who's well-respected, who's qualified, suggested, and who was appointed by a Democrat, is not a Republican. And the White House, as far as we know, did not give consideration to that suggestion, did not give weight to that suggestion, but instead barreled ahead and said, we're going to pick the judge, and you pesky senators can go jump in a lake. Yes, Ms. Mathis, I'm sorry the Biden White House has done this to you, because in terms of how this institution operates, there's no senator that wants to see a White House treating home state senators the way the Biden White House has with this nomination. The chairman may not admit it to you, but he doesn't want to see a Republican president making an appointment from the state of Illinois for the Court of Appeals without bothering to talk to him, without bothering to listen to him, without giving him any input whatsoever. That's the position the Biden White House has put you in, and that is very unfortunate.
Before recognizing